Hi, Kevin Henry with Dental Economics, here today in Frisco, Texas at the Speaking Consulting Network meeting, and here today with Serena Wixom, who's a practice management consultant, and we're going to talk a little bit about overhead in the practice today. And I know before we went on camera, you told me that really a lot of dentists probably don't even know their own overhead. Is that right?
That's so true. I found that about 90% of dentists don't know their true overhead. They take in what they make and just hope that there's enough money in the business account, and they think, well, then I'm good. So they truly don't know it.
So what do they need to do to know it if they don't?
What they need to do is they need to get a profit and loss statement from their accountant, and knowing that the profit and loss statement, the accountant is trying to, they need, for tax reasons, needs to make the practice look like that they have a loss. But in the profit and loss statement, as we spread the expenses, the loans, is there any loans that are going to be paid off in the next month? Is there anything that's going to be purchased? To take these into consideration. So we spread those expenses on there. Amortizations are ones that we don't put on there. So these are expenses going right out of the practice. And the true overhead is what the practice is. We take out the doctor compensation, and so that tells us the true overhead based on the last 12 months. We always want to look in history so that we can forecast the next 12 months. And so then to be able to determine what the practice needs to make in that next year, we need to put in the doctor compensation and then forecast the next 12 months. So before we forecast the next 12 months, then we see what percentages is going to dental supplies. And there's two areas that, there's some that are fixed and some that are variable expenses. Your staff wages are fixed. Your variables are your lab cost and your dental supplies. Those will vary of how the practice is growing or if it's slowing. So as we calculate the percentage, then we can see if we are below the industry standards, if we're too high on the industry standards, and then with an action plan, we can sit down and determine what action we need to do in order to take some measures to get those numbers where they need to be in those right percentages. As we're forecasting the next year, that's when we're determining, is there any loans that are going to be paid off? Are we going to, can the practice afford to give the staff a raise?
Sure.
Of course, staff always likes that.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
How about any CE courses? The wish list, the laser, the CERAC. Can we afford that? So we spread those expenses for the next 12 months, and then we ask ourselves, Doctor, how many days are you going to work this next year? So we take those days and then we divide it, that's total, the number of days, and that gives our daily production goal. But that's really simple for a fee for service practice. If you're a PPO practice or a DMO, then you're contracted to adjust down to the allowed amount on the insurance fee. So from your fee to the allowed amount, you can't collect that. So by determining that you can't take your full fee, you need to bill your full fee, but you need to take in considerations. And so doing that report of how much you actually produced and collected the last year, we get a sense if the write-offs are 35% or 40%, and take that into consideration and adjust that into the daily goal.
Okay. So what are a couple of tips that you often give to your clients about reducing overhead and really trying to get down those magic numbers that they want to hit?
Well, we really talk about being realistic about the dates. Sometimes as the months get their hit and goal, they become a little complacent for the next month and maybe take off some days, where those days are what we determined in there for the goal. some ways. If it's the dental supplies, I would look at how we're ordering and how often in the inventory control. So I would compare some pricing there. Lab, that's a variable expense, but I would compare labs. And then just taking that action plan and having a meeting with the staff every month so that we look at it, so that there's some accountability, that we just don't make this goal and then hope it happens.
Right. So really reducing overhead is really a team thing.
It is a team effort.
It's not just the doctor doing it.
Absolutely. It's got to be a team effort or it doesn't happen.
Okay. Have you come across a practice that they've instituted some things and they've been able to knock that overhead down, and talk about what that's done to the life of the practice maybe?
They have done some things. Some things that they've done is that they've enhanced their inventory control. One team, their dental supplies were just skyrocketed, but I had them start putting the invoices in the binder, so that you can compare the bill with that, and so to make sure it matches. So just more accountability there. Also, part of this is we also determine what percentage of collections, and so that's a huge part. So if we're at 93%, we need to put some systems in order to improve collection. I like to see it between 97 to 100% of the allowed amounts for the doctor full fee, whatever they're contracted. So using an action plan is a must. Those things need to go on there so that they can get the results.
Okay, sounds great. I really appreciate your time. Thanks.
You're welcome.